Hey, welcome back to the Drum Rundown. We are here today at the Brooklyn Bowl with an old friend of mine, Christopher Williams of Accept.
Hey, hey.
What's
hey,
up,
Jared,
man?
How are you, brother?
What's going on, dude?
Good to
see you. You too, man. So, you know, you didn't make any room for me.
Actually,
you know, if we didn't know each other for so long, I'd take offense to it.
well, you know, if you wanted to, technically, you could step in right. I've got a spot right over here. You could step.
Yeah.
That's how I get out to at the end of the
So
show.
I'm standing on your back door, your exit strategy right here. Yeah. Dude, this thing, I mean, you hit me up the other day. You're like, we got to do a rundown. This is, okay, for historical purposes. We launched a drum rundown. They were like, you're going to do this thing. Perry roped me into this crazy idea. You were the #1 top of my list because I was just like, who am I going to talk to about drums? And I was like, Christopher Williams. So this is like full close of the loop.
I remember that because we had played a few shows with Kato, the band that I play drums for as well. And I think I had just finished this kit when we did those shows.
Yeah.
Back in 2019.
You had just finished, I think, the floor tom.
And we were talking about doing it, and we missed the opportunity in 2022. Accept played the same venue, but it was the first show of the tour, and there was way too much going on.
Way too much.
It was like, I wish, but next time, and
yeah,
here we are.
So I'm very excited to be behind the Sparkle kit because there's so much to talk about. I mean, this thing fucking shreds. It's so beautiful.
Literally, it'll slice your fingers if you're not careful.
And so
and the cymbals, you know, the chinas, they shred cheese, and you know.
It's crazy. Let's get into the mechanics of how. I don't even know where to start. This is so rad. Where did you come up with the disco ball kit idea, first of all?
Initially, I had seen I'm a huge Kiss fan. A lot of people that know me know it's stupid, honestly. But I had seen Eric Singer, their longtime drummer, when he first joined the band on the Revenge tour, he had a Mirrorball kit. And Pearl called it Mirrorplex. Munetaka Higuchi from the band Loudness had a kit like that in Japan, and he saw it. And that was actually plexiglass, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a mirror tile. And I saw that kit in a magazine, and I fell in love with it. I said, one day I'm going to do that. How am I going to do that? How am I going to, you know? And fast forward to 2019, I signed with Pearl. They gave me this setup, and it was initially a mirror chrome laminate. And I was like, man, that would be the perfect kit to Mirrorball. Because if you're going to do a finish like this, in order to keep the lugs in line, you have two options. You either have to sacrifice the gaskets, or you have to leave it with a chrome wrap underneath.
Right.
And the problem with sacrificing the gaskets and running the mirror underneath also depends on how thick the mirror is, because then it might actually take your tension rods out of straight, out of parallel. And then you have to drill through the glass. You risk crushing the glass with the tuning forces on it. And so it was easy enough to just go, okay, it'll take forever, but I'll put each and every tile around all the fittings and everything like that. So it took forever. I cut all the glass myself with a tile cutter that I put a glass cutting wheel on. And over the course of a few months, in and around tours that Accept we're doing, whatever time I had at home, you know, a few hours a day or on the weekend, I would just do it. For example, these two floor toms, the 16 and 18, was something like 12 or 16 hours to do those two drums. So it was a massive undertaking, but the result, you know, I did a free floating snare drum. I've got 3 matching snares with this, and I did that first snare drum, and that was it. It's like, okay, I've got to do it. I'll continue on. So it was a ton of work, but I mean, I think it speaks for itself, really, don't you?
It's striking. I mean, being up close and personal with it, you can see the craftsmanship and the detail and how precise it is and how precise it had to be to work. I know you said that these tiles came in a 1x1.
Yep.
but for it to kind of lay flat and not, you know, the
had to-
curvature of space-time
You
is
had to
important.
cut them all in half. So for every single tile, now there's 4. And then the problem with that was, with the tile cutter, if you use too little pressure, you don't score the glass deep enough to get a solid crack of it and split of it. If you do it too hard, you shatter the glass. And then even if you get the perfect line on there, the perfect score, I would lay it over a tube horizontally with gloves on, and I would just pop them. Well, not all of them would actually snap all the way through. So now you've got a shard, and it was, okay, white wax pencil, circle that, take an X-Acto knife, cut that out, find an off-cut piece of tile that would fit perfectly, and then glue that in place. So it was a lot of work, but I mean, it was worth it. I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's like
I don't know if I'd do it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest it. Also, I'm gonna cut away to B-roll here. This has always been my favorite, is the cup holder and the stick caddy
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
are also wrapped as well, because, you know,
Why not?
why not? You've gone down the rabbit hole this far.
If you've got enough and you've got extra laying around, what's a cup holder and a stick holder?
Yeah,
You know,
nothing.
20 minutes, 30 minutes,
Yeah,
okay.
you're already
cool.
a master. Now, has anybody commissioned, like, what would be the price? Is there a price tag for it? It's add a couple zeros, I'm sure, if you're thinking about it.
Ask Billy Baker, he'll do it.
Okay.
I'm not that. Nope. We could talk numbers, but
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Start adding zeros.
Yep. And Billy's a fantastic drum builder. Billy actually did all of Eric Singer's kits for the Kiss End of the Road tour. I think they did at least 7 drum sets over the course of about 4 or 5 years that they did that tour. So, and he's done some custom work for me over the years and stuff too. So
did you pick his brain on specific pieces of the process of how to get this done?
somewhat, you know, mainly like with, as far as, is it going to be better to drill the glass or just leave that out? Or when you do the air vents, for example.
Right.
Well, most of the air vents is right where 4 of the tiles intersect. So then, okay, how do you do that? Well, you start with one, you file that with a round file, put the next one, continue. So little stuff like that, Billy would help me along the way. But the Mirrorball kits that Billy did for Eric were actually 5mm by 5mm.
Okay.
And he was able to bang those sheets out way quicker.
Yeah.
You know, there's Uva.
What's going on?
I'm
Hey,
filming.
Uva.
Thanks.
Oh man, just say stop, man.
Uva Lulis from Gravedigger and Rebellion and Accept.
Sorry.
We
B-roll.
love cameos. Live Hollywood, live film production. That's awesome.
And of all people in the band, he would be the guy to do that.
Well, you know, he probably just couldn't see where he's going. This thing's pretty blinding with the stage look on it.
It
I
is.
just think he
It
was
is.
just like, go to the light.
It is. There have been nights where they'll backlight the kit, and I see all the, like right here on the heads, you can see it, all the
Yeah.
square tile reflections, and I'll just catch myself looking at it, just going, ooh.
Yeah. Well, I know
great.
we've both ended up in bands with a lot of lighting looks and some crazy LDs. Are any of your lighting looks out of bounds now because of the mirror kit? Like, you can't probably do a lot of kind of lasers and,
No, I mean,
other things.
nothing because of that. The only thing that, and it's nothing new, it's always driven me nuts, is strobe light.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it messes with me, or especially if I do the stick flip like Tommy Lee, or, you know, bounce it off the hi-hat kind of thing, and the flash is going off. It's like you
lose
really have to focus. Where is it? Where? That's why if you look, I've got sticks everywhere.
Yeah.
Because
Always
if you
one
drop
on ready.
one, just
Yeah.
bam, there you go. On this tour, they're not available yet, but I've got some prototype. You're familiar with the Kelly shoe?
Yeah.
The internal mounting system?
Okay.
So in the floor toms, and this guy over here is actually set up as a gong drum, and the kicks, of course, I've got the traditional Kelly shoe horseshoe. In the rack toms, we've got a prototype of an internal tom mic mount
Okay.
that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about, but it's
Cool.
coming.
All right. And I'm sure that goes into just how these things are designed and made. Everything needs to be custom.
Yep.
Just to kind of keep
Yep.
the integrity of the drum.
Well, and the other thing too is, I mean, unless you're using small diaphragm condenser gooseneck style mics, standard, microphones on the drums that I've noticed over years, it drives me nuts. You'll get that rock and roll, cool, awesome photo that makes you look like a rock god from down in the pit, and there's a microphone right in your face. And so I've always liked doing the internal microphones, and I knew that especially with this kit, I wanted to go that route just to keep everything that much cleaner. We bring in, the only mics that you really see on the kit during the show is we'll have 2 under mics here, but the ride mic is mounted discreetly under here, the hat mic discreetly, the snare mics are on top and directly bottom, so you don't really notice them. And the OCD in me loves that because it keeps everything neat and clean and
Yeah.
camera, microphones out of my face.
That's awesome. Well, these are certainly a hot rod, and hot rods are definitely not all paint job. Let's talk about what's under the hood. They are Pearl Masters Premium Birch.
Correct. These are the 4-ply premium birch, so it's 4-ply with the reinforcement rings. Kind of a rare bird, actually. They didn't make these for very long. I think maybe 4 years they offered this. Of course, they've had the 6-ply birch shells forever, which sound amazing, but I've always liked the thin shell maple drums, and I really thought that this would be a cool, unique thing to test out. And they sounded great in the studio because you get more sustain than you would typically out of a 6-ply birch, but it still drops off quite quickly,
right,
as you would expect.
Yeah.
So,
And I think just getting into the science of it, you are adding mass to the shell by applying the glass.
Yeah.
So you might be getting into a middle ground of like something closer to a 5-ply.
And what I find with this kit is I actually end up tuning them a bit higher than I typically would, just to make sure that I get the cut and I get a bit of resonance off of them. But if you look, aside from the floors, the snare has a gel. This guy, the gong drum, is totally flat. That's just to push subwoofers. The brown note.
Yep, there it is.
But I've got the Evans EQ gels on the floor toms just to control the resonance, because I'm using the Porter and Davies seat thumper. I've got the Gigster with this rig. I've got the BC2 in Europe.
Okay.
But to keep those from rumbling too much and causing a feedback loop, since it is on a platform and everything is suspended together, if this thing doesn't have the gels, it will take off and rumble and rumble and rumble.
Gotcha.
Whereas with the rack toms, they're in like a high to mid range, but they're still going.
Yeah.
It's
really awesome how much sustain you get, because I think everybody, if you were a pedestrian person, you'd be like, there's no way these things are going to sound like anything. This is all just for show. They sound incredible.
Yeah, they sound
They really
great.
do.
And with the kick drums, I muffle the front heads, and I have the Evans EQ3. It's the EQ2 or EQ3. What is that? EQ3 batter, the thicker head with the double rings. So that's like a pre-muffled thing on there, but they're fairly wide open.
Yeah.
Because I like the way that feels. But I mean, when you get them going, you get a nice resonance, but it doesn't sing too long.
Right.
So it's a thicker front head, thicker batter head, pillow inside on the batter head.
Okay, touching the
or
batter
on
head.
the reso head rather.
Touching reso.
Just so that doesn't take off. And I find that works for me. And again, with everything being suspended together through the riser, there's certain things that you modify, but really not a whole lot that was different than just having it on a standard drum platform.
Yeah, because you have a little bit of the low end coming up off of the floor, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you have to accommodate.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I love them.
Yeah. And Evans G2s, the coated heads, that's kind of
Yeah.
giving you some nice punch and attack and a nice warm body.
The G2s, I've played Evans for, wow, next year will be 20 years
Wow.
that
awesome.
I've played Evans heads, and I love them. The G2 coateds, I always come back to. I've played pretty much every head that they offer, and they're great for different applications and moods and things, but just in general, the bulk of what I do, the G2 gets me by. They last forever. They tune up like that, especially since the 360 collar years and years ago, thanks to Marco. I love them, you know. So it's G2 coateds on top, G1 clears on bottom, heavyweight on the snare batter, and then the glass 300 on the bottom. And then this guy, just the bottom head is on there, but it's completely sliced out just to keep the hardware on there.
Okay. So,
You know.
concert tom.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
it. Concert tom, tune low, and yeah.
And die cast hoops?
Die cast on these,
Okay.
triple flanged on the 8, just so it would sing a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, the die cast is a nice, especially having a thinner shell. It kind of hones that in a bit. If I'm recording with a thinner shell, I prefer to have the triple flanged hoops, or even like the fat tone hoops.
Yeah.
It's kind of a die cast single or double flange, but they're great, man. And Pearl's been awesome to me. I can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah.
Pearl Europe, Pearl US, right here in Nashville. And man,
Did they sign off on the Mirrorball? Are they like stoked on it? They're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They try to put you in a factory.
Oh, when I put this on social media, they blasted it everywhere.
Yeah.
And Mike Berg, actually, we've got one back here. Mike Berg built me a custom set of Enduro Pros to match this kit.
Yeah.
That's they're platinum colored as the base, but it's crushed glass, crushed aluminum, platinum dust, chrome steel flake in there, and aluminum flake.
Did you just gotten those Humes and Berg like when
Yep,
we
when we met.
So yeah, I think you were just as stoked on those.
I had just finished the kit, and I had just gotten the cases, because when I was building the kit, I told Mike what I was doing, and initially we had thought about going with chrome cases.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that would be out of house, and I can't guarantee how they would hold up as far as the finish. And I said, okay, what can we do in-house that makes these things pop? Because I had seen the custom glass cases he had done, and that's when he goes, let me think on it. And he comes back and he goes, here's the list of everything going in your cases. And I said, do it.
Yeah.
And he sent me a color sample, and it was like, yep, check, sign that off, go, make it happen.
Yeah.
So huge shout out to Mike Berg.
Definitely. And
Huge
if you
shout
guys aren't familiar with his work, we'll put the link in the description box, because you got to check out all of the crazy stuff that he's done. Like the hypercolor stuff that changes color if you're inside, outside, sunlight.
The glow in the dark.
The glow in the dark.
Yeah.
It's just
Mike Berg's great. Mike's the man.
Yeah, just a dream to have that kind of stuff available, because you have to put these in something that is just as special.
Yep, and especially this
I was
custom
going to say,
insanity of a rack.
Not to be outdone is the custom rack that you've built for it.
Yeah.
And I know this is something that you've been working on for a long time too. Talk to me about the concept for this rack.
So, growing up watching MTV, in the late 80s, you started to see these cage-style drum kits with the hanging cymbals, and I always loved the look of that. Nick Menza, Blas Elias. The one that really got me, though, was Randy Castillo's kit from the No Rest for the Wicked tour. It was an Art Star Tama kit, white shells, black hardware, black rack, and that's what this is designed around. I had fallen in love with that rack. There was a gentleman that I worked with on 2 previous racks years and years ago that's no longer in business. And I kept pestering him for years afterwards. I'm going, come on, man, we got to do the custom rack. We got to do the Randy rack. And, nah, I'm not out. You know, I'm out. And okay. And our bass player, Martin, we have a mutual friend here in Nashville, Tim Tucker, that's a fabricator. Well, Tim taught me how to weld. And then next thing you know, the light bulb goes off and suddenly it's, finally! So
Skill acquired.
This was 2 weeks of work, but I mean, just in these 4 curved pieces, that was all rolled manually by hand. That was 10 hours.
Well, dude, it's a pleasure. Thanks for closing the loop on this incredible kit, man. This Mirrorball kit, this awesome cage. This has been a drum show called The Drum Rundown. We are here with a drummer called Christopher Williams of the band called Accept. We will see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for having me, Jared. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching, and we'll see you soon on tour somewhere.